All right, right on. All right, there we go, brother. And so again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for joining me here on this platform, Prison and Promise Podcast. I know you've been on a lot of platforms. I know you got a lot of hats you wear. You're an author, motivational speaker, a relationship builder. I'm sure there's quite about 4 or 5 other things I'm missing, so I'm not even going to try and get into it. But I want to allow you to take this moment right now to introduce yourself, let the listeners know who you are, and talk about all those hats you wear.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure and an honor to be sharing this podcast with you. To get this type of platform where my message or my story can reach people to inspire people. I can't thank you enough for giving me this opportunity. All those hats that you talk about, I couldn't have worn them had I not gone through my situation. And my situation was being arrested for the first time in my life, and going through that journey of the criminal justice system. At the age of 26, I was a model citizen. I was a college educated with a degree in early education, and because I love children. A homeowner. I worked at a university for 6 years as a director of admissions. I had never been in trouble with the law. I had never been arrested. I had never encountered law enforcement. And in fact, I have law enforcement in my family. So, to say I wanted to go out and commit crime, to want to say I was going to go out and do something, was never in the scope of my life. And then, disaster happened. And in my story, because I published a book on through Innocent Eyes, which is a complete story, a breakdown of what happened to my life. But I was just an innocent person who got caught up in a bad night. And from there, I got arrested. And a fight, doctor, turned into multiple charges that I didn't commit. And then the battle was on of me being a young minority trapped in the justice system with no education on how to navigate through it. And it was just like dropping me off in the bottom of the sea and telling me to swim with an anchor on. And it was nearly impossible to get through it. Um, you know, with any effects to my life, my family's life, my community. When I got arrested, it crippled a university that I worked for. It crippled a community where I coached Little League baseball at. I helped run a nonprofit organization to inspire young men to further their education. So I had a lot of great things going for me. And
Mhm.
then in one, I got in a fight, and it changed my life.
Ripple effect, for real.
Yes, sir.
And so, what state are you in, and how much time did you do in that state?
I'm currently in Tampa, Florida. That's where that's the home state. That's where I live at.
Hmm.
I was sentenced to 27 years. And by the grace of God, I only did 12 and a half years before I was able to overturn my sentence and get released.
Hmm. Wow. And can you talk a little bit about how you went about overturning your sentence?
Yes, sir. Um, there's a lot of people. I mean, I'm real big on statistics. So, whether it's you or people who follow this page or watch this podcast, there's a term, numbers don't lie. And
That's right.
it's true. The statistical numbers in the state of Florida, it shows that only 2% of the people arrested go to trial.
Hmm.
So the state of Florida actually right now, if you look on the Attorney General's website, they have a 99% conviction rate. So they're nearly saying that everybody they arrest is guilty, and they're going to get sentenced to jail time, prison time, or some type of supervision.
Hmm.
When I got into a fight that evening, and I got accused by two people of multiple things that never occurred. For 32 months, I sat in the county jail and fought for my innocence. I
Hmm.
refused to take a negotiated plea deal to prison for something I didn't do. I became a part of that 2%. I went to trial, had a 5-day trial. And after that 5-day trial, I beat the worst charge and lost on the rest. 30 days later, I was sentenced to 27 years Florida State Prison. And the first couple of years of prison was a blur. It took me on a roller coaster ride of survival, prison education, do's and don'ts, how to stay in my lane. The
Hmm.
first, most people who go to prison and they're thinking about, trying to find their way out or have post-conviction legal representation,
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard for them to focus on getting out when they're just trying to learn how to survive.
Yeah.
And that's what it's that transitional period is crucial, because it could either be life or death if you don't learn how to properly conduct yourself behind a prison wall.
Indeed. Indeed.
And one of the things that I had to learn with this transition was my emotional state is not other people's emotional state. How I feel inside or what I was affected by has no bearing on the next guy who sleeps next to me, because he's going through his own emotional state. He has X amount of years that he has to complete for his sentence. So his mentality is different because he's already transitioning into living in the prison life. I hadn't got there yet. So the first couple of years of life was about survival. You know, there were fist fights. There were people trying to take advantage of me. There were people stealing from me. There were the gangs. There were multiple things that I had to learn on a quick basis how to navigate. Once I got through that, I turned into the normal prison citizen. You know, I became a product of my environment. I learned how to move. I learned how to go to work every day. I learned to basically just survive with the emotional pain of being in a place that I wasn't supposed to be in. And about 3 years later of being incarcerated, you know, I had an officer stop me on the compound, and she said, "Hey, well, I don't know if you know this, but why aren't you working in the law library?" And I couldn't understand why she was asking me why I'm not working in the prison library. And I said, well, this is just my life. And, you know, I'm doing trash detail. I enjoy it. I get out of the dorm every day. And it showed me in that moment that my mind was only focused on just getting through day by day. And then she told me, she said, well, you tested in the top 5 of all the state prisoners for smartness. Like, you lost trial, and you are one of the few that have an ability to overturn your sentence. I suggest you go learn the law. And in this moment, she had planted this seed of there's a possibility. And for the first 3 years of my prison sentence, I had never even thought about that possibility. I never thought that there was light at the end of the tunnel. I was just trying to figure out how to walk through the darkness. And after that, that's when the wheels got turning. That's when I got hired into the law library, and then I started studying the law. I started going after why I had lost trial. It almost became an obsession as to how did I lose my freedom. Yeah. And I turned my jail cell into a workstation. And for the next 3-4 years, I just learned the law. And then I started filing motions for other people. And then I started filing motions for me. I had got some people free from incarceration prior to turning the surgery onto my own self. And then I thought it was time that I could go after the state of Florida for my release. And if anybody knows anything about filing post-conviction motions, you'll file a couple, they'll get denied. You got to figure out, go back to the drawing board. And this was a reoccurring thing for about 2 years, just because of time limitations and when motions get answered. And then from there, I knew I had a rock solid case to get out. And then it was just a waiting game. And then eventually I got a court date to go back. And then I knew in my heart that the Lord would set me free.
Wow, man. That is a remarkable story, brother. Remarkable. Wow. My hat's off to you. And my hat's off to the CO who helped turn you in the direction that would help free you.
You know, I think that was all God led. For everybody who knows me, prior to this incarceration, I never prayed. I never went to church. I never read a Bible. You know, I was just a guy that was just going through life saying, hey, look at all that I accomplished. And in that moment of despair, I felt like, not that I ever lived a bad life, but, it gave me an opportunity to get all the distractions out of my life. Yeah. And then when it was a premonition that, there's more to my life than what this is. And that if there's something that you value, you work for it. Whether if I was in society and I wanted a home, I had to work hard for my home. I had to work hard for the cars that I wanted. So then it just came to the mindset of, if you want this bad enough, you'll work hard enough for it. Because It's the American dream. Like you said, we can achieve all things if we work hard for it.
Yeah, man.
And I didn't learn the law sitting in the college classroom. I learned the law in a prison cell, reading law books after law books, paying law clerks to give me the books so I can read them in the night just to return them in the morning, and studying what case law meant, studying anything and everything, Florida statutes. And then once I started understanding that, I started writing universities. I started writing um, the criminology departments and asking them, could they give me motions, or could they answer questions, or could they help me? And there were several universities around the country that gave me that help. Georgetown, um, Florida State. There was a lot of universities that said, you know what, I can't take on your case, but I can gift you with a book. I can gift you with a motion. I can gift you with information. And then they started giving me insight on how the legal motions are written. How do you properly file a motion? And then I just got better at my craft, and I became a lawyer. And from there, it was just history.
Yeah, man. You know, I'm smiling, man, because I'm thinking of an old adage, which is, closed mouth don't get fed. And, you opened your mouth, man, and you held your hands out, and your needs were fulfilled. And so that's fascinating. And plus, you prepared yourself to be ready when the needs came through, But something else, a couple other things that you talked about earlier. And one of them was, the success, and how the word you used was, I became obsessed, with the law. And so I think about anything that we want to be successful at, and you talked about it, working hard, but I think to do better than the next person, we have to become obsessed with it. And it has to be our everything, our waking and our going to sleep, either our freedom or our success in our craft, whatever it is. So I that really resonated with me. But then earlier you touched on something. I'm sorry, go right ahead.
I just want to input, and I apologize for interrupting.
No, it's
You know,
good.
now when I became a student of the law, I became an avid reader, and that's something else I didn't do prior to incarceration.
Mm,
Books would, become a movie in my mind, and free my
mhm,
mind and take me
mhm.
far away from the confines of the jail cell.
Yeah, man.
I started off with Western books because my grandfather
Mhm,
used to watch Westerns when I was a little boy, but then I elevated
mhm,
to read all types of novels. And then I got obsessed with reading autobiographies of people. And one of the books that was instrumental was a book called Snowball. And Snowball was a book by Warren Buffett. And he talked about
mhm,
how he built an empire. And in
mm,
this book, he talks about how he was learning how to buy and trade stock, and the
mhm,
obsession of him wanting to be successful. And
mhm,
that when people wouldn't invest with him because they thought he was crazy for going after small companies, he
mhm,
wanted them wrong, that he could outsmart his
mhm.
competition.
Yeah.
And I was able to take that information and apply it to myself and say, I need to figure out a way mentally to outfox my competition, because they are the one who outfoxed me and put me in prison.
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
I even the score with them? And the only way that I could ever even score with them is to get myself released. So that
Mhm.
obsession that Warren had in his book became my obsession with law. And like I
Yeah.
literally made a collage of my room, and the CEOs knew I was so important to the compound legal world that they allowed me to have these things on my wall. Most officers make you pull it down, but like
Right.
I would case, I would have my evidence reports, I would have like motions, I would have like arguments, and like for at least a 2 year span, like I would write, draft, throw it away, hit a jump shot into the trash can, write, draft, throw it away until I felt it was good enough.
Yeah, man.
And when I felt it was good enough, you know, I erased all doubt in my mind that it would happen for me.
Mhm.
I just became a prayer warrior after that, and there's a lot more detail to a lot of things that played in that part, but
Mhm.
that obsession is what ultimately led to attacking the law the way I did.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fascinating. And I keep saying that, man, because I'm blown away when I hear these stories about brothers who give back that time, man, when it seemed like they weren't going to give it back, and they give it back. And then they go on to do great things. I'm encouraged by listening to your story, man. You know, one of the things also that that stood out to me that we just kind of didn't even look at, and I think a lot of people don't look at this when we talk about incarceration and recovery and all that, is emotion, man. And early in your bid, you said, man, I was just trying to survive the emotional pain. Those are your words, the emotional pain. And I think that that's such an important piece, being in touch with our emotional self, acknowledging the pain, looking at the pain, working with the pain, working through the pain, and not allowing those emotions to get the best of us. And I think that as men, we often find ourselves on the end of our emotions, pretty much following what our emotions tell us to do, as though they're instructions versus just something for us to look at, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree. You know, we always say women are emotional.
Yeah,
We're emotional too.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
usually emotion is channeled for men to anger. We
yeah,
get emotional, we become angry. We want
yeah,
to, take it out or, build off some steam. But I was able to use that pain as my motivator, that I
yeah,
didn't want to live like this for the next decade calendar. I didn't want to walk around and look at people who I felt truly deserved to be there versus the ones who didn't. And then when I became a law clerk and started working in the
hmm,
prison library, I had guys started bringing me their case and saying, whoa, something's wrong. And I would find the error in their case, file the motion, and get them back in court. And then I started understanding the deeper aspect of the criminal justice system, on how blacks and browns, minorities, are sentenced, and it's a statistic, are sentenced 7 times more than their counterpart.
yeah,
And I started thinking about, if I am doing people's law work and I am getting them back in court and they're getting a reduction of sentence or giving their time back,
hmm,
this only occurs, doctor, this only occurs when they got it wrong from the beginning.
yeah.
Nobody could give their time back if it wasn't wrong in the beginning. You
That's
can't
right.
convict somebody and then they go to prison for 10, 20, 25 years. And then all of a sudden they give their time back or they get their conviction overturned. All that's telling America, who really doesn't know, is that it was wrong from the beginning and I should have never
Mhm.
been sentenced.
That's right.
Now that because you had an unjust system, bad representation, an aggressive prosecutor, I paid the penalty with my life. And now
Hmm.
or if I had the financial means, would have to pay somebody to regain my freedom.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. Nobody, whether they're in the state of Florida, they're in North Carolina, Washington, D.C., wherever,
The whole country.
their prison sentence overturned unless it was wrong from the beginning. And
Mm.
America misses that piece.
Yes, they do. It's just simply, okay, this person got convicted. They're in prison. They must have done something wrong. They deserve it.
They must have deserved it.
Yeah.
When I my sentence overturned, I wrote the newspaper, the same people who blasted me, the same people who said I did these horrible crimes, the same people
Hmm.
who put my picture all over the TV, and I said, hey, can you please post, at least make a article online that I got my sentence
Yeah.
over. And I was
Yeah.
told, hey, let us look into it. It never occurred. You know why? Because they never want to put out good things that happen in the criminal justice system. All they want to do is paint drama because drama sells. This guy committed these crimes. He did this. He got
Hmm.
sentenced, exposed.
Hmm.
But
Drama
what
and
about
fear.
the guy who worked his tail off, learned the law in the prison cell, and got his own self out pro se?
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
not newsworthy.
Yeah, that's right. And that should be shouted on the rooftop. But again, if you have a brush with the criminal legal system for whatever reason, then it seems as though your accomplishments are overlooked or not considered, and your humanity is not even taken into consideration. It's like, so what?
I'm just another number. I'm just another face. I'm just another colored person that's in the criminal
No,
justice system. And
no,
America,
no.
right. But, it's just so far. And that's why, when I got out, I wanted to be heavily involved in the criminal justice system. I wanted to be saturated with going to conferences and speaking about, like you said, the lived experience, because we got a lot of people that's making laws. We got a lot of people that's talking reform. We got a lot of people that want to be in these rooms and having these discussions, but they don't got people that look like me and you who've actually been there that can sit and speak and advocate and tell
Right
you
on.
exactly what needs to happen or what needs to change. So that's why I told myself that, one of the stories I read was Harriet Tubman, and it
Hmm.
was more than inspirational for me. This was a lady who was sold into slavery, children ripped away from her, raped, beaten, and through all
Hmm.
that she been, She found a way to get herself free.
Yeah.
But when she became free, she did something inconceivable. She went back and started freeing other people because
Yeah,
she
man.
understood light.
Mhm.
Just because I made it doesn't mean that it's a success.
That's right.
Because guess what? There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that I had left behind that will
Yeah.
never have a voice. So when
Mhm.
I speak with passion and I go to these universities or conferences, or when I'm in Philly and I speak at the National Conference of Criminology next month, when I speak, I'm going to speak for all the people who can't have their voice heard. I have to be their ambassador and say, hey,
Absolutely.
I'm there. I'm here because statistics show that 51,460 people file a post-conviction motion in Florida every year. That is the average.
Mm.
My motion made it. Others that have the same, you know, conviction that needs to be overturned, just like me, probably won't make it. There are thousands of people who get denied by time limitations or prosecutors dragging them or judges turning the blind eye. I made it. It's a success for my life, but
Yeah.
it's not a success for those who are left behind.
Right. So we got to continue to fight the system. Bob Marley sang in one of his songs, we got to chant down Babylon, and so that's what it is. We got to keep fighting. But I got a question, man, which is, how did you maintain your stability, your psychological, emotional stability during 12 and a half years?
I want to give you a real gift today, if possible, and I'm gonna share
Come
something
on.
very, very, very personal with you. And maybe even when you're speaking in universities or you're speaking at conferences or you're touching somebody's life, that you tell them this. I have been conditioned all my life to know that when people say they love me, and then people come in my life and say, "Oh, people should love you for who you are, and you shouldn't change," and that's how you know people love you because they accept you for who you are. I have believed in that my whole life. I look around, and if the people love me for who I am, my faults or things that I have, that's real love. I have been taught that my entire life. When I became incarcerated, I found out that that had been false, that I had been misled in that. Because the true people who love you in life, they're going to push you and love you until you feel uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And when you're comfortable by that love and it's uncomfortable, you don't know why they're pushing you or they're staying on you or they're nagging you, it's because those people love you enough to push you to an uncomfortable state because they see a greatness inside you that you can't see.
They see that potential.
They see something in you that you can't see. And when they're pushing you, if you had a parent that said, hey, you need to be doing this, or you have a loved one saying, no, I think this is a better move, and you go against it or you feel different, it's that uncomfortable feeling that you feel. That's the greatest love that somebody could
Yeah.
ever give you. And
Yeah.
I made it through my mental because I had a mother who pushed me, who said, you need to learn the law. You're college educated. You're smart enough. You could beat the odds. Everybody who told you no, you could prove them wrong. You're strong
Yeah.
enough to overcome them. She didn't tell me and say, well, I love you. And, we got to do 27 years. I'm going to do it right here with you because I love you for who you are. And if you lost try, you gave you your all.
She
No,
pushed you to go deep.
she saw something greater in me. She saw that I could go to another level, that I could be the same person who learned education in the classroom, that I could do it in the prison cell. And
That's
she
right.
pushed me to an uncomfortable state where there was no going back. It's like
Hmm.
pushing me to a ledge, and either you're gonna jump and fly or you're gonna fall down and crash. And
Hmm.
when she pushed me, my wings got a chance to extend and got a
Yeah.
chance to glide. So all
Yeah.
the people in your life, if they're saying, I love you for who you are, you need to take a look at them and say, are you saying that this is the best my life can be, or I can never go to another place in life, or I can't chase my greatness? You just want me to be who I am for the rest of my life?
Right. What is
No.
it?
What
But
is
so
it?
what I'm hearing though.
You want the people to push you to where you feel uncomfortable because
Mhm.
nobody likes change. But the other side of change could be one step closer to your greatness. And I
Right.
made it through my mental state because I had a woman that stayed on me and told me, you could be better than this, that you could reach for this. This isn't out of your reach. This is obtainable to you. And that's what got me through my emotional state, that, I was strong enough to get through this. Were there times that I was angry? Absolutely. Were there times that I got in fights? Absolutely. Were there times that I lost it because I couldn't emotionally take it? Absolutely. But each time that I fell down, she was able to pick me back up. She was able to
Yeah.
recharge my batteries. and put me
Yeah.
back in the ring.
Yeah.
Champions aren't made because they win all fights.
Right.
Champions are made because they find an ability to get back up once they're knocked down and continue.
And fight through the hard time. Yeah, that's powerful. And it also speaks to the importance of having love and support in your corner. That's, people that's supporting you in the right way, that pro-social support. Because we could always have somebody that's supporting us, but it's like, look, man, we sending you this money, we taking your phone calls while you're in there, but when you get out, we got this pack waiting for you, or we got this gun waiting for you. But that's not the kind of support you had. So that's beautiful, man. And so how about coming home, man? Finally coming home. One, you went to prison, you have a college education, so automatically you're on the opposite end of the statistics because most people who got college educations don't go to prison. But here it is, you find yourself in prison. You get out of prison, you're able to maintain some sort of stability. What kind of challenges did you face and how did you overcome them?
Well, the first challenge is that you'll find out in the state of Florida is that once you release, you're never free because you don't have rights. You don't have the right to vote. You don't have the right to do a lot of things. Becoming a felon, as you know, it brands you. So employment people are looking at you that you've been in prison will never hire you.
Yeah,
So the recidivism number is where it's at is because we don't have corporate America hiring felons. And that's just the honest truth of it. Let's not water it down.
mhm,
We as felons cannot proceed and have a normal life if we're not given an opportunity. This is land of the
definitely.
home and brave. This is the land of second opportunities. But when it comes to release offenders coming back as returning citizens, they're not being given the same equal opportunity to apply for a job. As soon as
Mhm.
they have to check the box and say they're a felon in the state of Florida, there goes the job right out of the you might as well just ball it up and throw it away. So
Yeah,
one of the things for understanding was we have a crisis when it comes to hiring felons. We have a crisis when it comes to allowing felons to apply for apartments or living. So if you're not going to give them a job and you're not going to give them living, what are they supposed to do? Most
right.
felons are going to go back to what they know. They're going to catch that pack. They're going to get on that block. They're going to start robbing, stealing. And people say, oh, that was just his life. But could we have made the transition easier as a community if we already had a pipeline to give these people some type of job or some type of trade? Most people that walk out of the Florida State prison have no trade. So they spend a boatload of time incarcerated, have no certifications, no forklift license, no carpentry, maintenance, no electrical, nothing,
Nothing.
and get
Yeah.
released. So if corporate America is not going to hire them, what is their next job? To be able to find a job that they can utilize the trade and the skill set they've learned. The Department of Corrections in Florida does not offer those things. They only offer a small amount and it's not really transferable. They do no job assistance, no education awareness with attaching the people who are about to get released with employment. And for me, it was about um, relying on my family. My mother gave me a place to stay, so I didn't have to
Yeah.
worry about and
Yeah.
then I was able to, just know people from all the law work that I did in prison that, family members remembered me for doing and helping them out and gave me a job and say, you know
Right.
what, for what you did for my son, I can never repay you, but at least I can give you a job so that way you can afford your own living. And that's
Yeah.
what I currently do now. And, they say if you plant a seed, and it will harvest those seeds that I
Yeah.
have
Especially
planted.
if you water it.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
seeds that I had planted, um, came into fruition years later.
Wow.
And
Wow.
now I'm lucky enough to be able to support myself financially. Not the best that I would like, of course,
Right.
not on the same level it was when I was working for the university, but I make a living where I can afford to survive.
Yeah.
Have an automobile, be able to work hard. But I'm just a firm believer that one day I will get the right position that I can feel passionate about, make a earnest living, and
Mhm.
continue to help others.
This is great, man. And so what I'm hearing from you and is consistent with everything that was in my life, that has been in my life, other stories I've heard, as well as the research. And that is some of the biggest boundaries are the collateral consequences of the stigmas that society place on us, and some of the challenges are in finding employment, finding housing, but you had that support, and so that helped make a difference, and that rings true in my life and many of the lives of people I've talked to, when they have that bridge to housing, that bridge to employment, it seems like it makes it easier. But one of the things I think people fail to realize, and we're coming up on 5 minutes left. But one of the things I think people fail to realize is they say, well, people coming out of prison need housing and jobs and skills training, which is true. But a lot of things fall to the wayside because our people don't have emotional intelligence training. They don't have awareness of themselves. And so they run into situations and they get triggered and they act just like they would have acted in the penitentiary and lose a lot of their opportunities. So I think we have to focus also on emotional intelligence. I think that'll definitely help us get a bit further than the average bear. But we got 5 minutes, so I want to give you a moment to maybe respond to what I had to say. Then I have one last question.
Well, I definitely think people need to, you know, emotional support is so huge when a person is incarcerated. But when the transition happens, a lot of people can't emotionally take, living a clean life, living a life without a crime, so they
Yeah,
wager on mine. But we as a community, our city council, our local politicians, we as a community have to do a better job with a collaborative effect with taking
mhm,
care of. So many people want to point out the numbers for recidivism and why it's high or why it's this, but if you're not actively trying to combat that number, and you're
yeah,
saying you're in agreement and you
yeah,
accept it and care nothing about it, stop
yeah.
being the people that point it out and say, well, the numbers are high. If you're not willing to roll up your sleeve and help us
That's
bring
right.
that number down. So
Yeah, then move out the way
yeah,
and be quiet. Move out the way and be quiet. Yeah, that's dope, man. So, if people wanted to find your book and reach out to you, talk about how that can happen for them.
well, if anybody would like to read my personal story, they can go to my website, www.walter, WALTER, Dunn, DUNN.com. They can buy my story through Innocent Eyes, which tells my journey of being incarcerated and the steps it took to get overturned, my sentence to get overturned. And then there's another book that I published too called How to Navigate Through the Criminal Justice System. When I was a law clerk in prison, I felt like I would see so many children coming to prison, didn't know the law, had bad, inadequate lawyering, a system that took advantage of them because they were ignorant. So I published a book on how to navigate through the criminal justice system. So if you have any family members that's currently arrested, in jail, in prison, on supervision right now, they want to know how they can get back to freedom, just like I did, they can go
Yeah,
and buy that book. Well, and another thing, when I published that book, I wanted to make it affordable. When you look at law books and stuff like that, you're talking about $300-400 a law book. I made a How to Navigate Through the Criminal Justice System, 116-page book, so that way you could get real information, how to file motions, what to look for, how to hold people accountable for only $50.
yeah,
So
that's
I,
dope. Yeah.
I want to make it economical, affordable for the normal
Hmm.
people who can't
Hmm.
afford to pay 10, 15 grand for a lawyer. I wanted to give
Right.
them so they could, find a way home too. And then on my website as well, that's where I do most of my booking for speaking engagements. If people want me to go places, speak at universities, speak at conferences, speak to corporate people, um, you know, you could go to that website, you could book me to speak. And then when I see if I've been booked for a university, if I've been booked for a corporate environment or a conference, then I know how to set my speech up for the environment I'm speaking in front of. But I truly enjoy what I do. I do a lot of my work off of LinkedIn where I'm able to connect with a lot of people and try to reach out and see if, maybe they have places that will welcome me as a speaker. It takes a network. And if I don't do my part and I just wait for people to reach out for me, I'm doing a disservice. There might be somebody that I reach out to and I can inspire them and they say, I want you to come speak here or there. And that's often how it happens as well. So I love to travel. I like to get on a plane. I like to go places and I like to really look people in the eye and tell them this is what happened to me, but this is how I overcame it. And this is how you can overcome things in your life too. Whether it's you're in bondage because your son is incarcerated, or you're in society and you're in a relationship bondage, or you're in a financial bondage, you're struggling with something, I can give you my story and then curtail it and teach you how you could be an overcomer, how you can be a person that was an underdog and come out on top.
Yo, man, wonderful. Great talking to you, brother Walter. I'm sure when people listen to this story, somebody's gonna feel it. They're gonna feel it in their bones. Somebody gonna move, you know. And so with that, we're gonna call it a wrap.
Well, I appreciate it. I would ask, if you get a chance to post it, maybe you send me the link. I'm gonna put it on all my social media sites. That way we can get this out there. And it's about
Hmm.
helping people. You got a loved one that's incarcerated right now and they're trying to find their way home. Please reach out to me. Give me an opportunity to help you. Give me an opportunity to get my book to you so that way you can hold a lawyer accountable. Because at the end of the day, how much does it cost you not to know?
Right on. And this is about the shut off on this.
Okay. Well, I
All right.
appreciate it.
So
I definitely reach
likewise.
out.
And I want to reach out to you too, because I want to get your headshot and your bio.
Yes, sir. I got you.
All
I'll
right,
email it.
brother.
Take it
All
easy.
right, great. Thanks, man. Thank you for your time. Peace.